Imagine being told your skin was too dark for magazines, that your face wasn't marketable, and that your best chance was to be fashion's choken black girl, grateful for whatever scraps they offered. At 15, Naomi Campbell's agent told her she might last until 30. She didn't just last, she changed fashion forever. From the start, Naomi's story was never simple. Born in 1970 in South London, she entered a world already fractured. Her Jamaican mother, Valerie Morris, was a professional dancer, often away touring. Her father? Gone before Naomi even arrived. No goodbye, no explanation. It was her grandmother, Ruby Ming, a Chinese Jamaican, who raised her. By 3, Naomi was already enrolled at the Barbara Speake Stage School. At 10, she trained in ballet at the Italia Conti Academy. But this wasn't privilege, it was survival. Ballet demanded perfection, bleeding toes, aching muscles, and endless discipline. For a child whose mother drifted in and out like a ghost, that structure was everything. The mirror never lied. The bar never abandoned her. At 7, she danced in Bob Marley's Is This Love video. At 13, she appeared in a Culture Club video, always in the background, but watching, learning, waiting for her moment. Then, in 1985, fate intervened. 15-year-old Naomi was shopping in Covent Garden when an agent from Synchro spotted her. Within a year, she graced the cover of British Elle. The transformation was dizzying. One day riding the London Tube to school, the next flying first class to Paris. But Paris 1988 was where the fairy tale hit its first wall. Paris, 1988, the self-proclaimed capital of fashion. Naomi Campbell was just 18, already a rising star and a symbol of breakthrough. She'd just become the first black woman on the cover of British Vogue in 21 years. But French Vogue? That was a different story. In its 72-year history, the magazine had never featured a single black model on its cover, not one. Naomi's agent pushed. The magazine resisted. Behind closed doors, the excuses echoed through fitting rooms and boardrooms. Our readers aren't ready. Maybe next season. It's not the right time. What they really meant was, you're too dark to sell. In the late 80s, fashion worshipped a narrow vision of beauty. Blonde, blue-eyed, softly angular. Think Christy Brinkley, Claudia Schiffer. Naomi, with her rich skin, sculpted cheekbones, and commanding walk, didn't fit. Designers said she was too aggressive. Editors claimed they loved her look, but couldn't find the right story for her. Then came Yves Saint Laurent. He didn't write angry letters or stage protests. He made a single call. Either Naomi gets the French Vogue cover, or he pulls all his advertising. Every franc. Millions. And just like that, French Vogue changed its mind. In August 1988, Naomi Campbell made history. The photo shoot was stiff, the styling safe. The photographer treated her like fragile glass, terrified of making a mistake. But the message was clear. Naomi had broken through. In fashion, it would never be the same again. By the early 1990s, Naomi Campbell had done what the industry swore she couldn't. She wasn't just a model, she was a supermodel. And she wasn't alone. Alongside Christy Turlington and Linda Evangelista, Naomi formed what the world called the Trinity. They were young, rich, and unapologetically powerful. One famous photo captured them in a champagne-filled bathtub at the Ritz after a Versace show, laughing like they owned the world. In many ways, they did. Linda made headlines when she said she wouldn't get out of bed for less than $10,000 a day. Christy was the all-American goddess, and Naomi had the walk. Designers wept, models quit, no one could touch her. As John Galliano put it, when Naomi walks, she commands. she slays. But behind the glamour was something deeper. In an industry that thrived on competition, these three chose sisterhood. When brands tried booking Linda and Christy without Naomi, they refused. All three or none at all. It wasn't performative. There was no Instagram applause. It was just solidarity, real friendship. Yet even that couldn't erase the divide. At airports, Christy and Linda breezed through security. Naomi got randomly searched. At hotels, staff assumed she was someone's assistant until they recognized her face. At events, they praised Christy's business savvy, Linda's intelligence, Naomi, her body, her walk, her exotic beauty. 1991, Milan. Gianni Versace's Runway. Naomi, Christy, Linda, and Cindy Crawford closed the show to George Michael's Freedom 90. The room exploded. Fashion editors cried. Buyers stood applauding. This was fashion's high point. Untouchable. Powerful. But when it came time for beauty contracts, reality came crashing in. Christy signed with Maybelline. Linda got Revlon. Cindy landed Pepsi and became a household name. Naomi, nothing. She could sell couture, but not lipstick. She was good enough for Paris, too unrelatable for American drugstores. She was still the token, still the one who had to work twice as hard for half the reward. That pain hardened something inside of her, because when you're always the only one, you learn to protect your space, even if it means becoming the thing they already assume you are.
July 15th, 1997, Miami Beach. Gianni Versace steps out of his mansion to buy magazines. His usual morning ritual: espresso, Italian newspapers, a breath of calm. Minutes later, he's gunned down on his own doorstep. The fashion world froze. But for Naomi, it wasn't just devastating, it was personal. Versace wasn't just another designer, he was family. The man who put her on runways when others hesitated, who didn't see her as the black model, but as Naomi. He invited her to family dinners. He called her just to talk. Not about work, but about life.
How did you get the news?
As a gay man in a hyper-masculine world, Versace understood what it meant to be different. Maybe that's why he protected her so fiercely. Days later, Naomi walked his final show. Mascara streaked her cheeks. The audience cried, but she didn't break stride. The posture, the presence, every step flawless. Because Gianni had taught her, even when your heart is shattered, you give them the show. But grief doesn't vanish. It waits, and cracks in the armor began to show. By 1999, the whispers had become shouts. Missed jobs, erratic behavior. Then the confession, cocaine. It had started innocently. Everyone in the scene was doing it. Studio 54, the Met Gala, backstage, glam rooms, just part of the lifestyle. But Naomi wasn't like the others. She couldn't afford mistakes. Male models partied with impunity. Kate Moss made heroin chic a global trend. But Naomi, there was no margin for error. What began as a weekend indulgence became weekday survival. Eventually, the strongest woman in the room did the bravest thing imaginable. She checked into rehab. No stylists, no camera crews, no entourage. Just Naomi and the demons she had spent years dancing past. She got clean, quietly, without spectacle. But when she came back, something had changed. The vulnerability was gone. The walls were higher. She had been fashion's icon, fashion's tragedy. Now, she was becoming something else entirely.
March 2006, Manhattan. Naomi Campbell is on the phone with her housekeeper arguing about a missing pair of customized chip and pepper jeans. Then, comes the crash. The phone flies. It hits the housekeeper's head. Blood, stitches, sirens. The media pounced. But this wasn't new. Back in 1998, in Toronto, her assistant accused her of assault. Naomi tweeted guilty, paid the fine, attended anger management. Then came more accusations. 2000, 2004, another assistant, another housekeeper. The pattern was undeniable. The woman who had fought to be seen as more than a stereotype was now branded exactly that. The angry Black woman, the diva, the monster. Naomi begins community service at a New York sanitation garage, sentenced for one of her assaults. She arrives in a $1,200 Dolce & Gabbana gown, then a $3,000 fur coat, then custom Louboutins. The media didn't know what to do with her. Was it arrogance? Was it art? Naomi knew exactly what she was doing. If they're going to humiliate me, I'm going to make it fashion. Community service became performance. Heathrow Airport. One of Naomi's bags doesn't make it onto the flight. She erupts. By the time police arrive, she's kicked an officer, spit at another, hurled insults that landed her a lifetime ban from British Airways. 4 convictions, 11 accusations. Tabloids didn't even need to try. Naomi attacks again. Supermodel meltdown, the face of rage. But beneath those headlines was something no one wanted to ask. What happens to a person who's been the only one for 20 years? The same fashion world that once refused to book her without threats was now plastering her face across front pages, only now as a villain. Years later, Naomi herself would say it out loud. Would I be treated this way if I were white? No. The rage was real, the damage undeniable. But maybe the real shock was how long it took her to explode. 2013, the fashion world is changing, or pretending to. Naomi Campbell, Iman, and Bethan Hardison form the Diversity Coalition. Their first move? A public letter. Not vague, not polite. It names names. Celine, 0 Black models. Versace, 0. Prada, 0. Designers protest. We don't see color. Others say, we couldn't find anyone who fit our aesthetic. But Naomi knows the truth. She's done whispering in fitting rooms. The letter sends shockwaves. Slowly, something shifts. Not dramatically, but undeniably. By 2014, more Black models begin to appear on runways. Not one per show, multiple. Jordan Dunn, Juan Smalls, Adut Akash. And they don't fear Naomi. They admire her, worship her. The difficult diva narrative crumbles. A new one emerges. She was fighting for us before we even arrived. Naomi starts opening doors she once had to kick down. Teaching, mentoring, calling designers on behalf of new faces. Her fierce reputation becomes a shield for others. Then, in 2021, she shocks the world. An Instagram post, no build-up, no baby bump. Just Naomi holding a newborn. A beautiful little blessing has chosen me to be her mother. 2 years later, another child. The world speculates. Who's the father? Was it surrogacy? Is it real? Naomi doesn't answer. She doesn't have to. I'm not going to discuss the father, she says in interviews. My children are my priority. From the woman whose arrests once filled every tabloid, silence has become her greatest power. In 2023, she closes the Valentino Paris show alone, dressed in liquid gold, gliding through a dark warehouse lit by a single spotlight. She doesn't walk, she floats. Models half her age have walked all week, but this is what mastery looks like.
And in 2018, finally, a major beauty contract. NARS, at 48. She could have been bitter. Instead, she delivered the most stunning campaign of her career. Then came the honors. 2019, fashion icon by the CFDA. 2020, her own exhibition at the Victoria and Albert Museum. Not a supermodel retrospective, a Naomi Campbell exhibit. This was the revenge. Not the headlines, not the phones, but this. Outlasting every editor who said she was too dark, every brand that said she wasn't relatable. The model they couldn't sell had become the face they couldn't stop celebrating. She had been the victim, the villain, the scandal. Now she was the standard. She wasn't just a supermodel anymore. She was the reason supermodels exist. The girl they tried to erase is still here, still walking, still terrifying the industry into progress. Long may she reign.